Kanta was born in a quiet town in Hokkaido, Japan, surrounded by mountains, rivers, and sprawling rice fields. Growing up in this peaceful countryside, Kanta had limited exposure to English in his early years. His parents, farmers who valued traditional Japanese culture, encouraged him to focus on his studies at the local school, but had little understanding of how English might fit into his future. Early beginnings, the first spark. In his quiet elementary school classroom, Kanta's first encounter with English was simple yet enchanting. His teacher introduced English phrases through games and songs, a fun break from the usual routine. Hello, goodbye, and thank you were the first words he learned, and he loved repeating them to himself on the walk home. Despite the limited exposure, these little English moments were enough to make him curious. His town in Hokkaido was isolated from big cities, and he had never met anyone who spoke another language. So he began to see English as a sort of secret code that connected him to a larger, mysterious world beyond his small town. Middle school, the struggle and discovery. When he entered middle school, English became a formal part of the curriculum, and Kanta was excited, but quickly realized the challenge ahead. Lessons mostly involved rote memorization of grammar rules and vocabulary lists, with little focus on actual communication. Kanta, like many of his classmates, struggled with this approach. English felt rigid and complex, and he sometimes wondered if he would ever be able to speak it naturally. Determined to improve, Kanta took matters into his own hands. His teacher introduced him to English movies and music as an informal way of practicing outside class. He quickly became fascinated with English songs and Western pop culture. At first, he didn't understand much, but he enjoyed trying to make out the words. With each song he listened to, his ear became more attuned to the language. He began jotting down lyrics, memorizing and repeating them as he walked home. This habit helped him understand pronunciation and natural sentence flow, a refreshing break from textbook English. His listening improved through this self-directed practice, and he started imitating the voices in English movies, repeating lines to himself to work on pronunciation. His parents, though they didn't understand English, were supportive and curious about his dedication, often smiling as they heard him singing English lyrics around the house. High school, building confidence and setting goals. In high school, Kanta's English learning took on a new dimension. He joined the English club, where he met like-minded students who were also passionate about improving their English. Every week, they practiced conversations, and although his initial attempts were shaky, these sessions were invaluable. They played games, had discussions, and even did a few speech contests. The club's advisor encouraged them to speak without fear of mistakes, and this advice stuck with Kanta. Slowly, he began to feel more confident in his ability to communicate. Kanta's biggest breakthrough came when his school organized an exchange program, bringing international students from the US and Australia to Hokkaido for a few weeks. It was his first real interaction with native English speakers. Nervously, he tried to introduce himself and hold conversations, fumbling through sentences, but getting encouragement and smiles in return. Nervously, he tried to introduce himself and hold conversations, fumbling through sentences but getting encouragement and smiles in return. This realization motivated him even more, and he decided he wanted to achieve something tangible with his English skills. Setting his goal, preparing for the IELTS. In his second year of high school, Kanta set an ambitious goal for himself. He wanted to score an 8 on the IELTS exam. Achieving this would open doors to English-speaking universities and was a symbol of mastering the language he had worked so hard to learn. But the path wasn't easy. His school didn't offer specialized English courses for IELTS, and private tutoring in his small town was limited. He turned to online resources, spending hours each night watching YouTube tutorials, downloading IELTS prep apps and practicing sample questions. He would study grammar and vocabulary during lunch breaks and practice speaking by recording himself. Every evening, he practiced reading English articles on topics ranging from science to history, building his vocabulary and comprehension. To improve his speaking, Kanta joined an online language exchange platform, connecting with people from around the world. Conversations were sometimes awkward and full of pauses, but they taught him to think in English rather than translating from Japanese. Each chat boosted his confidence, and he began to speak more naturally. Taking the IELTS exam, the final step. As the exam date drew closer, Kanta balanced his high school studies with intensive IELTS preparation. He practiced the listening section by watching TED Talks and English podcasts, learning to grasp different accents and speeds. The reading section became his strong point, thanks to the countless articles he had read. Writing was challenging, but he spent hours composing essays, focusing on structuring his ideas clearly. He worked on his speaking by role-playing interview questions with friends and his English club advisor, who encouraged him to express his ideas even if he wasn't completely fluent. When the exam day finally arrived, Kanta was nervous yet prepared. The listening section felt familiar after all his practice, and the reading section flowed smoothly. The speaking section was challenging, but he spoke with confidence, remembering the advice he'd received. Speak clearly and naturally. Results and reflection, a journey fulfilled. A few weeks later, Kanta received his results. Seeing an overall score of 8, he was thrilled. His family and teachers celebrated his achievement, and his English club members threw a small party in his honor. Kanta had not only met his goal but had transformed along the way, developing a deep love for the language and a readiness to explore the world. As Kanta prepared to leave Hokkaido for a university in Tokyo, he looked back on his journey. From the shy boy reciting "hello" to the student who scored an 8 on the IELTS, he had come a long way. Now the world felt open to him, and English was his key to exploring it.